Morning, everyone. Today is part 3.1 of our little tutorial series. And today we're going to make our GUI better. And before we even start, I'm going to show you guys like a few like decent improvements that I worked in the last few days on our little, public repo that is soon to become private in a few, like I think a few months. Not sure, perhaps not, perhaps yes. But anyways, let's move forward. So today we're going to improve our GUI. Okay, so as we might know, in the previous video I actually explained to you guys a little bit about eGUI, and I think I actually got a better understanding from the previous video. And I'm gonna teach you a few things that can make your GUI way better looking and way less, how do I say this, noisy. And so basically, it's not going to uh, act as much in the game as you wished. So, for example, let's say you make a system that is dependent on clicking and stuff like that. When you're hovering over the GUI itself, it's not gonna even care about that. So today I'm gonna show you guys how to avoid noise in a GUI and how to make it look a little better, like avoid windows because like windows are cool. They can be really useful, but sometimes they're just like sometimes they just get in the like in the space that you want. And as someone that doesn't want that, I'm gonna show you guys another like way of building a GUI. So let's start, okay? So first of all, as you can see, we have now no longer a window, but now we have like a side panel. Like here you can see like now it's no longer a window, it's something that is really stuck on a resolution, which means that basically it's not gonna even like move around as expected, and also is not going to be treated as a part of our game. So it's kind of like a dock or a, you could say it's kind of like an editor. It's like the game's not gonna care about what you do here. So that's pretty much one of the things that you can see. To do this, it's really simple. All you need to do, let me just zoom right in, not that much. All you need to do is go to side panel, and like here was window, and you change this to side panel. That's pretty much it. Of course, you can leave the option resizable, which is going to make the window like dynamic. You can also set like a default width, which is basically how much you want it to swallow from the your current screen application. And that's pretty much it. I don't see any like difference here, like except this guy. This guy is basically like the guy who's going to be, making sure that we are able to do this. Why we should be able to do this is just a matter of like sometimes when you have a lot of subchild entities, there is a kind of like a limit to like how much this can grow. And sometimes like especially when we're going to play with entities, with subchilds and subchilds and subchilds, you're gonna notice that he's going to open a lot of subfields here. So that's why we wanted to be able to drag a lot because sometimes we're going to be like here and we want to actually see the information. That's why we did that. Okay, you might not want that, but it's like it's game to game. But I actually did it like this. So let's go to client, and you're gonna notice like client is pretty much the same thing. He just has like an extra panel. So we actually did like another function, another inspector UI function that added extra side panel, and it actually like allocates a little bit of space to it. The same things goes, makes things unlimited. I'm just gonna leave the comment here, like makes things make size unlimited to panel. Makes draggable panel size unlimited. So basically, like all the UI available size that you can take, unlimited. Okay, I think that's pretty much like the only difference. And you're gonna notice that we made like a both scroll area just for like making sure that we have no weird bugs occurring. We're also going to have like a side panel here with the right. And side panels are usually like the better approach for anyone who's trying to make something a little more editor-like, which is kind of like something we want, but like I don't want that much of an editor. I'm just doing it so it looks prettier and it feels more like less clunky. And you're gonna notice here that we actually got a lot of spamming going on here. So why is this happening? Like why is this like info here? So there's a very interesting factor. Of course, I'm going to show you guys on a later matter all the systems correlated to our dynamic. But basically, I was making like a pan orbit camera. So basically, like a camera that could orbit around the player, and it will follow our third person shooter, right? So I was working on that camera, and as you can see here, we have like the first version of a player. Everything correlated to player camera is not going to be shown right now to you guys, but don't worry. On the next videos, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna teach you guys all there is to how do I spawn this player, how did I make it so he's server related and all that stuff. So you guys don't need to worry that much about it. We're going to have a tutorial specifically to replicated entities and stuff like that when it comes to light here. So you're going to notice here that our values are going to be set to false when we are on the window, this when we are above the window itself. And now when we go here, it's going to be setting to true. So basically there it's gonna check out if we are over a panel. So basically as you can see when we are over the panel we don't orbit around the player, but when we're here it does. It's basically like a quality of life improvement. So it makes sure that we don't have like annoying issues. So basically that's what this guy does. See, so he's kind of like a validation process, okay? So what's the logic behind it? And again guys, this is available to you guys on the link on the repo on the link below. But like, so basically, you don't need to worry that much about like the code itself. But I'm going to explain to you guys just so you get an understanding of what it does. But as you can see, like it does an orbit. When we click, if we had an action that is associated to click, he's not going to do that action. We can actually contain a lot of the inputs and stuff like that, which makes things better, which is usually what people would like to have. Maybe there is like a better way to do this. Maybe I could make it so like I don't know, it doesn't orbit at all unless I say so. But like, yeah, like we can make it like on and off, like depending on the context. But today is just to avoid clicking and stuff like that. That's why mostly I did it, not to avoid orbit itself and zooming. As you can see, like if I'm here, it's not gonna zoom. If I'm here, it actually will start to zoom. Okay. And of course, don't worry that much about the orbit camera. It's a very specific orbit camera made to follow our players, so that's why it doesn't orbit that much and it's window dependent. It's supposed to be locked in when we are actually like on it. Like it's supposed to turn on and off so we can actually see our player. So don't worry that much about the camera, okay? So don't worry about the fact that it's not orbiting that much. Like oh my god, it's like oh, it's kind of stuck even. Like you can see, we have like some limits going on. But don't worry, camera itself will be taught on a later notice. So basically here, that's why, like, as you can see, it turns on and off. I'm going to show you this mechanic, and that's pretty much going to be the video for today. This is not anything oh, let me just get rid of this. No. And let me just get rid of a few values here. Oh yeah, we can make it like this. Does not need to be mutable. We can make it just like this. Uh, okay, maybe just make it like value, let value, because it doesn't need to be mutable. Yeah, it doesn't need to be mutable. I was trying something else, like trying to make it like so it's also applicable to Windows. But I guess since I'm not going to use Windows that much, so here, you guys gonna notice there is a lot of things going on. Basically, this is the resource like that we are using. It's just a struct. You guys can take a look at the description in the code itself. But basically, it's gonna store the previous and current value of whether our Egui actually wants focus or not. So basically, that's the resource we're going to do it. It's gonna store it two values because as you can see here, there's the reason behind it. It's basically because when we click, sometimes it gets a little buggy. It still returns false, like when we are assigned a window. But like that's why basically we have those both, so we can actually change a little bit. But basically here is the logic itself. Okay, so we want like here we're just like grabbing like primary window basically, and this is made in this way to ensure that like it doesn't crash if we don't have a primary window. Why we're doing like this is just to ensure, like for example, there is headless mode and stuff like that. So maybe like when I do something similar to server, I remember to do this, guys, and that's why we do it like this, not with like primary window query. Okay, so don't care and don't worry that much about it. Here we are basically grabbing the window for the entity, like we're grabbing the window entity, like we're trying to grab the window entity. And if we find one, we're going to set like a value variable, which is basically like the context itself on the window. And that's basically like going to tell us if wants pointer input, if he doesn't want, or if he wants keyboard input. If any of those are true, we're going to set this variable to true, okay? Else false, and that's pretty much how we do it. Okay, that's how we grab the context. It's really easy, as you can see. Context is a really powerful tool in Egui, so you guys should really try to abuse it. And that's pretty much it. After this, you guys can make a ton of run conditions if you want to make central game mechanics not really reliant or affected by like action of clicking or stuff like that. So that's why I usually teach you guys. So that's pretty much it. I'll see you guys tomorrow.